It's the start of a brand new year on the Save, and it's the perfect time for a revolution in the company. Today we take several steps to take Strong Style Americas to a whole new level as we invest almost $600,000 to allow us to really push on in our goal of reaching global status. That's not all, as we set up a brand new schedule that will help us grow at a rapid pace, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. But if you're excited for the episode, make sure you help me out and drop a like on this video as we look for 400 likes to unlock the next one. Head over to Patreon where you can play along with the save yourself and download the save file as it is at the end of this episode, and buy TEW IX using the banner at the top of TEWDB.com if you haven't already. So it is a new year on the game, which means we've got a whole bunch of awards to get through relating to the world and specifically Strong Style Americas. But before we get to that, you might remember at the very end of the last episode, we hit $614,000 in the bank thanks to an amazing profit of $177,000 in the month of December. Now, you'll also remember that the aim throughout that episode was to make as much money in order to afford a brand new broadcaster that will belong to us. So the first thing we're going to do in this episode before we go through everything else that's going on around the world is to launch that broadcaster. So let's get that done then, and this will be a major step for the company, with a big thanks to CM Punk and his merchandise money. So what we're going to go with for the very start is a very small USA broadcaster. It will be internet public, which means it'll be free to watch for everybody. And that will of course give us the most exposure in terms of growing in popularity, which will then help merchandise and sponsorship as well as the attendance within our region. And currently, the only broadcasters that we have are tiny, and this will become our biggest broadcaster that we host our shows on. Now, I've been weighing up some different names for what we're going to call this. Of course, the obvious being Strong Style Network. I also thought about Strong Style Plus, Strong Style World, even Strong Style Prime. However, we're going to go with a different approach, and we're actually going to call this Strong Style America's YouTube. So the idea that I've got is for our free broadcaster to be essentially our own YouTube channel. And to fit with this, I've actually made a picture, which is very fitting for what we're trying to do. And it looks like the YouTube interface with the logo, the name, with even a little tick there and a subscribe button. As well as this, at some point in the future, I also want to launch either an internet subscription service or internet pay-per-view, which will be the home of our big shows, and we'll build to those big events with smaller shows on our YouTube channel. So whether that be through a TV show or potentially something else that I've been looking at is through a touring schedule, which we might get to later on in this episode. But to begin with, we're going to host every single show on the Strong Style America's YouTube channel and go from there. So let's launch it and spend a hell of a lot of money to do so, $575,000. But we've got the money now, and we're making more than enough to make this worth it. And we're probably going to make even more profit because of this. And we're also going to be spending $2,200 per month in running costs. And also another thing that I want to make sure that we do as well is for a future upgrade, we're going to do very small or tiny in Mexico. And that'll be the next step. And then we're going to do Europe, and then maybe Japan, because we're not actually in any of those regions for broadcast, and then we'll go from there. So let's launch it then in what is a, as I say, major step for the promotion. And are you sure you want to go ahead and launch this broadcaster? Please remember that if you do launch it, you must still go and negotiate a broadcast deal in order to actually show content on it, which is fine. So we'll go and do that then. And there we go. We have officially a broadcaster. And as I said before, you can upgrade your broadcaster, and you can have more than one as well. So as I say, in the future, we can still launch the paid subscription service or the paid pay-per-view platform, which will be the Strong Style Network or similar. So let's get a deal signed then with ourselves and go into broadcaster and Strong Style YouTube, if I can find it, and I can't see it for some reason. Let's just reset the filters, and there we go, Strong Style America's YouTube. And let's negotiate. We first need a deal for events, so let's do that. Unlimited time, unlimited number of episodes. We can even go on prime time because it's our network, so essentially we will be live streaming on the channel at a prime time, or we can even go to on demand, but I believe prime time is the very best time slot in the game, which is something that is currently impossible to even negotiate with a tiny broadcaster, never mind a very small broadcaster. So this is a huge advantage to setting this up. And 100% of the revenue will go to us, even though there's no revenue because it's free. But of course, we'll be making ticket sales on the night and merchandise as well. And let's get it done then. So let's propose deal. And there we have it. We have our first very small broadcaster, something that we wouldn't be able to get for quite some time actually. So let's quickly take a look at an internet free service that's very small, if there is one, and see what kind of size we would have needed if we did that. So I can't actually see one on here. There is one for India. So yeah, you would need 40 popularity in 3 regions, for example. Obviously, this would be the United States equivalent, but that just shows how popular you have to be to get onto a very small broadcaster. And even if we go to internet subscription, very small, go to, for example, Stadium, which is owned by Sinclair Broadcasting and is very small across the United States, we would need 7 regions of America to be at 35. So yeah, we've basically took a shortcut into the higher reaches of the broadcast world. And yeah, we should start to see a bigger increase around the United States for our popularity, which will definitely help us going forward in getting to mediums. So of course we need 59 popularity in the Mid-South and we're only 7 away, and we need 35 in either the Southeast and Southwest, with Southwest being the closest and only 8 points away. So yeah, we'll see on our first show of this episode how much of a difference it makes, and maybe we can do some double jumps and go up to 54, maybe then 56, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, it's time to go through the World Awards and find out who picked up the best wrestlers, the best managers, the best young wrestlers, etc., not only for the world, but also our promotion. So, starting with the Male Wrestler of the Year, this time it has once again gone to Christian Casanova, the second time that he's picked it up, and this of course is Carmelo Hayes in WWE, and he's the current WWE World Heavyweight Champion as well, and seemingly is a hell of a talent in the game. Next up, the Female Wrestler of the Year has gone to Julia. She is not currently a champion in WWE, but she's got a really good skill set and popularity is through the roof as well. And this is her first time that she's won it. And for Company of the Year, this has of course gone to WWE, who remain the giant of the wrestling world on this save and are currently Titanic, which is the highest size in the game, of course, where we hope to end up one day. The Male Tag Team of the Year has actually gone to El Generico and Kevin Steen, of course under the name of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Kevin Steen is currently on the independent scene now after leaving WWE, but I think Sami Zayn's still there, and yes, Sami is still with WWE. And as for Female Tag Team of the Year then, this has gone to the Rainbow Express, which is Bayley and Carissa Rivera, which is a new team that was created in the game, I would imagine, and that's actually Elektra Lopez. And Elektra is a former WWE Women's Champion, but they haven't won the tag belts, but they are still the Female Tag Team of the Year. And then the Match of the Year was Carmelo Hayes versus Ilya Dragunov at King and Queen of the Ring, and Show of the Year was King and Queen of the Ring as well, which was held in May. And Male Young Wrestler of the Year has gone to Jay Malachi, who I assume is in NXT or WWE still, and yeah, he's actually on the main roster now. He's the former Deadlock talent, I believe, and yeah, he's really good popularity as well, and room to grow because he's only 24 years old. And for Female Young Wrestler of the Year then, this has gone to Billy Starks, who is in AEW still, and she hasn't got a title either, but is a former Ring of Honor Women's World Television Champion, twice in the save, once before the save started and once after. As for Male Veteran of the Year, this has gone to Cody Rhodes, who is now classed as a veteran at the age of 43, and apparently he's had a good year, and this is his first time winning the trophy and is the reigning undisputed WWE champion, so you can understand why he's picked up that award. And Female Veteran Wrestler of the Year was Bianca Belair, who had an excellent 2028 apparently, and this is her first time in her career that she's won this. It's probably the first time she's been eligible, I would imagine, only hitting the age of 39 now, and she is the reigning WWE Women's Champion. As for Most Improved Company, it's gone to Mexico again, but not Big Lucha this time. It's gone to IWRG, who had a fine year apparently, so a lot of the independent promotions in Mexico are doing bits in this save, and yeah, the lucha scene is looking healthy right now. And Male Independent Wrestler of the Year is Viano Free Jr., former Strong Style, of course, Junior Heavyweight Champion. The first time he's picked up the award, and apparently he is the best independent wrestler on the male side in the world right now. And we know why, and I'm sure that's no surprise to anybody, but it's great to see that one of our talents has won this award. And not only that, but somebody we found is a hidden gem and brought him to America, and here he is picking up that kind of award. And that is slightly confusing because he is under an exclusive contract, so maybe it's only taken into account his time before he signed that exclusive deal. And if we take a look at when that deal was signed, it was in December 2027, so yeah, he hasn't actually been independent. And actually, when you take a look at the award itself on the award screen, you can see here that to be eligible, a male worker must have wrestled a minimum of 5 matches on shows that were either independent or held by a company of less than medium size. So we have loaned him out in the year 2028, and he's of course worked for us as well, and we're still small, so that explains why he was eligible. And next up, the female independent wrestler of the year has gone to another strong style wrestler. This time it is Mayu Iwatani, and again, no surprise, she is very obviously one of the best women independent wrestlers on the game, if not the best women's wrestler on the game, full stop. And we've seen her performances as of late, and yeah, again, no surprise, and we've picked up 2 awards now. I think we'll hold more claim to the Viano one though. And male manager of the year has gone to Stokely Hathaway, who is likely still in AEW, and he is, and he currently manages Nick Wayne and Ricochet, interestingly. And for women's manager of the year, it's gone to Angelina Love again, somebody we did sign for a short period last year. Of course, she was managing Channing Thomas, who ended up injured, and then they both had to leave, unfortunately. But maybe we'll see them back one day, now that we've got a little bit more money to play with once Channing is back from injury. And Angelina Love is only with TNA right now, and she currently manages Myron Reed and Jasmine Aribi. And male play-by-play went to Japanese broadcaster Eiji Tasaka, and he is somebody that works for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And female play-by-play has gone to Veda Scott, who is with BJW in Japan, interestingly. And male colour commentator of the year has gone to Pat McAfee, which I think is a surprise, because I think CM Punk with his 100 colour was in with a shot there, but maybe he hasn't been on the booth long enough for him to be considered for the award, and maybe 2029 will be his year. And for female colour commentator of the year, it's gone to Emi Sakura, so another award for us, and the Deadlock and Strong Style colour commentator has picked that one up with her 78 rated colour commentary. And of course, she's not on the booth for us anymore. We replaced her with CM Punk and eventually Ultramantis Black, but maybe we could add her back in as the third on that booth. We'll think about it. But let's go to male referee of the year then, and this has gone to Sparky Ballard, who I believe is with New Japan and actually All Japan as well. And female referee of the year, another one for us, is Aubrey Edwards, who is now exclusive to us after her AEW departure, of course, and you can understand why with 100 refereeing. And that is all for the worldwide awards, but I did notice a news story at the bottom with Xena on the rise, and it looks like this talent, who was formerly with Stardom, PWA and MCW, the Australian living in Japan, has good potential on this save. So you can see here though that she has been slightly decreasing in some areas. Maybe she's not getting enough work with good enough talent, but she is only 31, so I think she might be someone that we pick up in the near future and bring over to, hopefully, into America, and see if we can have her as a breakthrough talent. She doesn't currently work in the United States though, so we would have to speak to her about it. And in terms of the save, she's definitely one to watch, with it looking like she has that underlying potential to grow into something special. And not only that, but she is a former Artist of Stardom champion alongside Maika and Mina Shirakawa under the Empress Nexus Venus stable, which was an offshoot of Club Venus, which was a stable that was home to Mariah May during her time in Stardom as well. But we'll hold off on that for now, and we'll continue on with the rest of the awards for the company now. So male wrestler of the year for the second time running is Viano Free Jr., and you can see why with him picking up the independent wrestler of the year as well. And he has had a great year. If we go to match history in 2028, he's got an average rating of 89 for his matches across the world. He has been in GCW, he's been in Black Label Pro, on loan from us. I don't think I've really talked about his loans that he's had, but yeah, he's had a hell of a year, and his highest rated match is 89, which was with us actually against Kevin Blackwood, and he's got an average of 68, which is solid. But yeah, still the top heel in the company, according to the awards at least, despite the arrival of Shun Skywalker. And female wrestler of the year has gone to somebody again for the second year in a row, that being Killer Kelly, who also won the Strong Style Women's Championship this year, as well as the Strong Style Tag Team Championships as well. And as for ratings, she has averaged 66, with her highest rating being an 86, which was, of course, against Mayu Iwatani at our last show. And for Female Tag Team of the Year, the first ever winner of this is Killer Kelly and Thunder Rosa, of course, the former tag team champions. Then Male Veteran of the Year was Ryan Davidson for the first time, with Eric Hammer and Hala Wicked winning it in previous years. And Female Veteran Wrestler of the Year, we haven't actually got one, which is surprising. I thought maybe Thunder Rosa and Nicole Matthews might be eligible for that, but apparently they haven't worked 10 matches for the company. So that's why they haven't done that. But maybe with an expanded schedule in the future, we can start to see every award being given out. And it's no surprise that Kevin Blackwood versus Viano Free Jr. at Strong Style 46 is Match of the Year. And this is our best match ever, of course, with an 89 rating. And for Card of the Year, again, no surprise, it's gone to Strong Style 53 from the end of the last episode, which was our highest ever show. And Male Manager of the Year, we haven't got one, but Female Manager of the Year has gone to AJ Mendez, and she's the only one we've got, which makes sense. And Male Play-by-Play Commentator has gone to Dave Prazak, of course with Ultramantis Black only just joining us, and Dave has the reps to be eligible. And Female Colour Commentator has gone to Alison Danger, again, she's got the reps and has actually outdone Emi Sakura this time around, who was of course the best in the world for colour commentary, but again not in the company, as Alison Danger has taken the award from her. And for Male Referee of the Year, it's gone to Adrian Butler, which somebody sadly that's no longer with us. And that is the end of the awards then, but let's go and check out the Power 500 for this year and see who the best wrestlers of the year are. But we're going to first start with which talent of ours are in the top 500 wrestlers. And first off, at the top of the list is Xulua, who is 52 in the world, with Mayu Iwatani just behind him at 58. So that's great to see. Viano Free Jr. is now at his highest point of his entire career, having gone from 405 to 173. So he really is growing as a talent. And Pac is 202, Kevin Blackwood 217, Shun Skywalker 227, Mayu Yamashita at 265, Tyler Bate at 279, Killer Kelly at 315, Jordan Grace at 322, Yuma Ayagi at 336, Matt Riddle at 405, Alex Kane at 431, and Ryan Davidson at 452. And it looks like Ryan Davidson and Alex Kane are in the top 500 for the first time, or at least they weren't in it last time around. With that said, let's take a quick look at the top 10 or there and thereabouts of the top 500 then, as Julia actually tops the bill and is the best wrestler in the world right now, shortly followed by Christian Casanova or Carmelo Hayes. Rhea Ripley is in at number 3, Tiffany Stratton in at number 4, Ilya Dragunov, and Gunther is in at number 6, Bianca Belair at 7, Bayley at number 8, Darby Allin, who's now with WWE, in at number 10, and to top off a WWE top 10 here, Cody Rhodes tops the bill, and Swerve Strickland is AEW's top wrestler at number 11 there. And you don't get outside of the United States until you get down to 25, with Mystico being Mexico's top star. And why not take a look at Company Wars as well, because of course we started right at the bottom of this list with 0 popularity, but we have now risen to 32 in the world, and we're now near the top of page 2, and we have overtaken WXW, who I know we were behind at one point very recently when I last looked, and we're just behind Defy. And let's check out their size, and yeah, we shouldn't be too far off overtaking them, and they're actually a medium company as well. So yeah, I think once we get to medium, we should be able to surpass them. And if we take a look at the last on the first page, GLEAT, they're actually quite popular across Japan. So it looks like when we're in like the 50s across the United States, then we're in with a shot of reaching into this top 24. And if we even look at Reality of Wrestling, who are positioned at number 22, their size is actually only in the 40s mostly in the United States. So yeah, I don't think we're actually too far behind, especially now that we have this new broadcaster. And of course, we've got a lot of work to do in the Tri-State, in Puerto Rico and Hawaii, New England, Northwest, Great Lakes and Mid-Atlantic. But we are growing strongly in the South and even in Mexico as well, with 2 regions of Mexico being 15. And that's actually higher than some of our United States regions. And the next thing I want to do isn't something that's going to come into effect straight away, but it will once we end up getting our own training facility. And that's to turn on loyalty for our talent that graduate. So we can either have normal loyalty or Trueborn. And I think I'm going to go with Trueborn, which apparently is the most powerful type of loyalty. So yeah, if we were to bring in some graduates from a training school, they will hopefully have true-born loyalty to us. And something I am considering as well is bringing in a young lion system, which obviously you see a lot in Japan. And basically what we would have to do is sign wrestlers with 25 experience or less, with less than 3 years in wrestling. And this would mean they're considered as young lions. And then if there's a young lion system in place, fans would expect that they lose to established talent. And once they either hit 25 experience or 3 years in the business, then they're no longer considered a young lion. So yeah, this would be something interesting to add once we do have a training facility. But I will leave it off for now, and we're just going to save the true born setting for future reference. What I'd also like to do is take a look at our title prestige for our belts and tournaments, and we're going to start with the belts. And currently the Strong Style Heavyweight title has 40 prestige, and let me just turn off annual competitions so we only see our championships. And yeah, 40 prestige there for the heavyweight championship, and I believe all belts started at 30. And then the junior heavyweight championship is actually a little less prestigious than the heavyweight title at 39. And the women's championship is actually our most prestigious championship right now at 41. The Strong Style Propaganda title isn't something that's actually been introduced yet, but that's at 35 by default. And the women's tag team championships, which I think started at 35, is now at 38. And that is classed as a floating level championship, much like the women's junior heavyweight and heavyweight championships, meaning any belt can become our main title. It's just all down to how the workers in that division perform. And right now, the women's division are currently our best in terms of creating a worthwhile championship. And also, while we're here, let's take a look at the records for our championships. So we'll start with the heavyweight, and the people to hold it the most are Michael Dante and Ryan Davidson, both with 2. Jørn Simmons, Mike DiVecchio, Wardlow and Alex Kane have all held it once, of course, with Alex Kane being the current champion. As for length of a single reign, Wardlow has the lowest at 75 days. Mike DiVecchio held it for the second least with 126 days before, of course, he joined TNA. Jørn Simmons back in the day held it for 173 days. Alex Kane has held it on his current reign for 334, quite a while behind Ryan Davidson's 420-day reign and Michael Dante's 478-day reign. So within sort of the next 6 months, if Alex Kane can hold the title, he will surpass Michael Dante, but we'll see how that goes going forward. And as for combined reigns, Michael Dante is also number 1 there with 478 days, because his first reign was 0 days because it was vacated the day he won it, because the series came to an end, that being the Strong Style Amsterdam series. And then Ryan Davidson there is number 2 with 431 days as champion after a short 11-day reign during a Strong Style roulette. And as for defenses during a single reign, Alex Kane has defended his title 8 times, which is the most of any reign in the past. And for combined reigns, it's the same thing. And for the Junior Heavyweight Championship then, Kevin Blackwood has of course held it 3 times, with Tyler Bate, LJ Cleary, Josh Cody, Viano Free Jr. and Pac all holding it once. In terms of single reign lengths, Kevin Blackwood has the longest title reign at 505 days, Viano Free Jr. at 420 days, with Tyler Bate holding it for 173 days during the original Amsterdam series. LJ Cleary held it for 113 days, Pac at 63 and Josh Cody at 14. And for combined reigns, Kevin Blackwood's 3 championship reigns see him holding the title for 862 days, something that will take some doing for any of the guys beneath him to surpass, and I think he might hold that record for some time to come. And for defenses, Viano Free Jr. had the most defenses during a single reign at 8. Kevin Blackwood only at 5 though, Pac at 2, and Tyler Bates and LJ Cleary at 1. And for combined reigns, Kevin Blackwood has defended the title overall 12 times, and the rest stay the same because they're only 1 reign. And for the women's championship then, the person to hold it the most times is Killer Kelly at 3, the same as Kevin Blackwood. Janai Kai, Nicole Matthews and Miranda Relize also held it once. As for longest single title reign, that is currently held by Janai Kai at 506, Miranda Relize at 317, Killer Kelly only 2 days behind with 315 days, and Nicole Matthews at 230. Killer Kelly though is of course number 1 in terms of combined reigns at 592, and then everybody else is the same as their single reign. And for title defenses, Miranda Relize had the most at 8, Janai Kai at 6, Killer Kelly at 5 and Nicole Matthews at 3. And combined though, Killer Kelly has made 9 and everyone else is the same. And for the Women's Tag Team Championships, there's nothing too major to look at here because the title's quite young. But Killer Kelly and Thunder Rosa were, of course, the first champions, and the Cuddle Bastards, which is Nicole Matthews and Hyan, are the current holders and have held it once as well. But for longest reign, Cuddle Bastards currently hold the record at 166 days and counting, whilst Killer Kelly and Thunder Rosa held it for 105 days. And as for defences, the Cuddle Bastards have defended it 3 times as opposed to Killer Kelly and Thunder Rosa's 2. And of course, now let's take a look at the prestige of the annual tournaments then. And the Strong Style Roulette is currently at 71 prestige, having been won by Alex Kane, Viana Free Jr., Ryan Davidson and Killer Kai, of course. And we will be running a roulette very soon. Then the Strong Style Showdown is currently our most prestigious annual tournament at 74 prestige, with Kevin Blackwood winning it twice, Viano Free Jr. and Alex Kane each winning it once. So a star-studded lineup there. And the Women's Champion of Champions is currently at 68 prestige, having recently been won by Mayu Iwatani. And as for the men's, which is currently retired but will likely return at some point, is at 58, having been won by Ryan Davidson. And I've also had a lot of requests to take a look at WWE, AEW and TNA. So we're going to do that now that we're at the new year. And we're just going to take a look at the champions and maybe some of the major stars. I don't want to go into too much detail, but the champions currently are, as we saw earlier, Cody Rhodes is the undisputed champion. The world champion is Carmelo Hayes. The women's world champion is Jade Cargill, who is actually part of Damage Control, apparently. And the women's champion is Bianca Belair, who is also part of Damage Control. The women's tag team champions are Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. The world tag team champions are Cedric Alexander and Ashante the Adonis. And the WWE tag team champions are Pretty Deadly. The United States champion is Grayson Waller. The Intercontinental champion is Andrade. And the Speed champion is Randy Orton. So that belt getting a major star holding it for the first time from what I can see, although Jimmy Uso is probably the biggest name before that. As for the Royal Rumble then, the men's has been won since the save started by Roman Reigns, Gunther and Cody Rhodes twice more. So he's won it 4 times overall, which I believe is a record. And the women's Royal Rumble has been won by Liv Morgan 3 times in a row, and most recently Rhea Ripley, who picked up her second. So Liv Morgan there with the record for most women's Royal Rumbles. And the women's Money in the Bank hasn't been defended, unfortunately. And the men's has, though, and was won by Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes twice, and Ilya Dragunov. As for the AEW champions then, currently the world champion is Ricochet, who we saw earlier is now managed by Stokely Hathaway. The Continental champion is MJF. The Continental Classic winner was recently Mystico. The TBS champion is Mariah May. The TNT champion is Adam Page. The Women's World champion is Mercedes Moné. The tag champions are Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis, whilst the trios champions are Kyle O'Reilly, Aaron Solo and Anthony Bowens in a bit of a random team there. And let's see if any of the tournaments have been won. And the Full Gear World Title Eliminator was won by Kenny Omega, Malachi Black, Jack Perry and Swerve Strickland. The Owen Hart Foundation tournament for the men's hasn't been defended, unfortunately, and neither has the women's. And let's quickly check TNA then and their champions, as the TNA World Champion is currently Mike Santana, interestingly. The Knockouts World Champion is Erica Lee, somebody who I actually had my eye on recently. The Knockouts Tag Team Champions are Camille and Kenzie Page, somebody else who we've been looking at. And the TNA World Tag Team Champions are Steve Macklin and Leon Slater, with the X Division Champion being Myron Reed, who is managed by Angelina Love, and the Digital Media Champion is Kevin Knight, whilst the Call Your Shot Gauntlet has been won by Jordan Grace twice, Josh Alexander and Willow Nightingale. And actually, let's quickly check NXT while we're here and see who the current NXT main champions are, as Lexis King is the men's champion, whilst the women's champion is Jada Parker. The women's North American champion is Carmen Petrovic. The tag team champions are Zilla Fatu and Quincy Ellie, and the North American champion is Bobby Orlando. And finally, the Heritage Cup is held by Jay Cruz. And I did check, and the Dusty Rhodes Classic hasn't been defended since the save began. So what I want to do as well is take a look at the rosters of each company as well, and try and find out who the major stars are, who's potentially fell off, and stuff like that. So we're going to start with WWE and go with Raw to start off with, and we're going to make it so we only see wrestlers as well. So let's go there. And so this is the Raw roster as of January 2027, and let's sort it by major stars. So there's actually only 2 on the Raw brand right now, and that's Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov. Now, of course, Carmelo Hayes is the world champion, In terms of stars then, we actually don't have any female wrestlers that are star and above. So we've got Sami Zayn, Darby Allin, Andrade, Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes apparently carrying the red brand. And then you've got Drew McIntyre, who's down there well known. You've got the likes of Bron Breakker as well. Liv Morgan is well known as well. So is LA Knight. Mina Shirakawa has made a jump from AEW. And if you remember, she actually at one point was the leader of the House of Black, but she's now made the jump to WWE. There's also Orange Cassidy on Raw, Obafemi, Pete Dunne, and some other interesting names there as well. And I'm going to scroll all the way through in case you want to have a little pause and have a deeper look yourself. But that's sort of the cream of the crop there for the brand. But let's take a look at SmackDown and see if it's actually a stronger brand in terms of major stars at least. And yeah, they've got 5 major stars. They've got Cody Rhodes, Julia, Gunther, who has moved across from Raw, Rhea Ripley and Tiffany Stratton. But it does look like Rhea is currently injured though. And if we check out her news, she has a torn rotator cuff and is out for the majority of the year. She picked it up actually in last October and she'll be out until October 2029, so that's a shame to see. But she is still only 32 in the save, which is crazy. And for stars then, we've got Bianca Belair and Dean Ambrose, who of course made the jump from AEW, the former Jon Moxley now. And within the well-known category, let's see if there's any sort of surprises or names that have risen in terms of star quality. And you've got Sol Rucker there from NXT. You've got Kit Wilson and Elton Prince, yes boys, and you've got Ethan Page as well from NXT. And Dominic Mysterio is still well known, so he hasn't quite established himself as a main eventer. I wonder if he's won any titles, and he hasn't since the save began. But Randy Orton is down or only recognisable now, and so is The Miz, and so is Charlotte Flair as well. And I'm not sure what they started off as, but I would imagine it would be higher than that, at least Orton and Flair. And once again, I'll have a little scroll down and you can pause if you want to take a deeper look. Next up then, let's go to AEW and take a look at their major stars. So we're just going to reset that and set it to wrestler. And once again, sort by perception. So they've actually got a ton of major stars in AEW, but then again, the bar would be lower because WWE has more popular wrestlers. But nonetheless, let's take a look at who their major stars are then. So they've got Adam Page. Buddy Matthews has broken out as we've seen in the past, and he is a former world champion at this point. Hook is right up there as a major star as well, and he too has had a good run, but he hasn't won the AEW World Championship, but he is a former international champion at this point, and TNT as well, and has won the tag belts twice. We've got Jack Perry right up there, Jay White, and is there any other surprises? You've got Mystico actually, who's a major star in Mexico, of course, and we saw him earlier, but it actually looks like he's part of AEW's roster. Okay, so he's only at CMLL on loan, so he actually is in AEW as a permanent wrestler then. MJF's still right up there. We've got Psycho Clown, again from Mexico, former AAA star this time, and he's made a name for himself in this save, and he's really good actually and very popular in the United States, more so than he is in Mexico at this point. Ray Phoenix is still with AEW. Tony Khan still hasn't let him go. Ricochet's right up there as well. Sammy Guevara, and yes, some of the names that you would expect. Is there anybody that you wouldn't expect though? If we take a look through, actually Chris Bay, I wouldn't say I wouldn't expect it, but he is now with AEW as a star, so he's made his name for himself, and having avoided that injury that he did in real life, unfortunately for him, hopefully he gets well soon. And again, I'll have a little scroll through and you can pause and take a deeper look if you like. And for TNA then, let's see if there's any big stars that have made the jump over to there. So let's once again check that we're at wrestler and sort by perception. So Willow Nightingale, Mike Santana, Jordan Grace, one of our own, Joe Hendry and Jamie Hayter are the major stars over at TNA. We've also got Alex Hammerstone as one of the stars, Erica Lee, Ali Catch, interestingly. Jake Something has made a bit of a name for himself as a major player. We've also still got Matt Cardona there. So the Deathmatch King, still very much top of TNA on the save. And Tessa Blanchard is also back with the company as well. I'm not sure if that happened before the save started. She must have joined back with them. Yeah, she did in August 2026. And it looks like in the save, her heat has passed over, at least for now, until something else happens backstage. And Star Jr. is here as well, who I'm not familiar with, but on the save he's been in New Japan, All Japan, and he's even been at Ring of Honor as well. I'm not sure where he started out, and I've just googled him and apparently he is from CMLL, where he left in June 2028 to go to TNA, as you can see here. So he looks like their big sort of luchador star from what I can tell, but Jamie Hayter being one of their top stars is good to see. She's there on an exclusive written, of course. Actually, before we do continue, I'll have a look at Deadlock as well, because I know there's going to be a whole bunch of comments asking to take a look at the roster. So we're going to take a look at their champions to begin with. And Will Hobbs is currently the Deadlock Pro Wrestling Champion. The National Champion is currently Mia Yim. The Women's World Champion is currently vacant, but was recently vacated by Hikaru Shida, actually in September, and there hasn't been a new champion crowned since. The Tag Team Champions are Mike Santana and Jonathan Gresham. An interesting tag team there. The Tag Festival was most recently won by Roderick Strong and Malachi Black. And speaking of Malachi Black, we're going to go back to something regarding him later. And finally, the Carolina Classic was most recently won by Malachi Black as well. And for their roster, they're actually really stacked at this point. And they definitely are one of the major players in the United States, if they weren't so already. But I would say it's on a whole new level now in the save. They've got Austin Creed, Claudio Castagnoli, Malachi Black, Mike Santana, who is a big name in TNA, Ricky Starks, Roderick Strong, and Will Hobbs, all of whom are their major stars. So yeah, they've built a really strong roster there and some good star power. And speaking anyway of Malachi Black, I've been looking into potentially linking up with one of the wrestling schools. Now, we were talking about it earlier, and I've since found out that you can actually talk to a wrestling school and become affiliated with it. So I've been having a look through the list, and there's a couple that have piqued my interest. So we've got the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, run by Seth Rollins in the Midwest. And there's also the Rhodes Wrestling Academy, run by Dustin Rhodes in the Mid-South, so our very own region. And there's also the Dark Arts Gym, and this one's run by the aforementioned Malachi Black. And this would obviously be a natural direction for us because Michael Dante, who's the owner of Strong Style Americas, is the former tag team partner of Tommy End, or now Malachi Black. And I think it would be well worth linking up with the school, getting first refusal on some of the talent that come through, and then potentially creating our own young lions that we can then start to push and potentially build up to main event status as somewhat of a side quest to the main goal of getting to global. So I might affiliate myself with all three, or maybe two. Now, in terms of strength of training, Black and Brave have 45 training and 20 facilities. The Rhodes Academy has 20 and 10, so I think they're the weakest. And the Dark Arts Gym has 40 and 20, so they have slightly less training ability than Black and Brave, but they're pretty much on par. So if we take a look at the graduation information from both of them, from the Black and Brave Academy, roughly 2 students would be expected to turn professional over the course of a year, and there's an even split between male and female, and it's the same for the Dark Arts Gym, where there's 2 students will come through per year roughly, and again it's even split between male and female. And also we mentioned Malachi Black and the history of him with Michael Dante, but also there's a history with the channel and Seth Rollins, because of course Curbstomp City was literally named after his move and his cash-in at WrestleMania. And it actually specifies here what kind of wrestler that the Black and Brave Academy would produce. So they would produce regular, entertainer, powerhouse, impactful, striker, brawler, luchador, high flyer, technical flyer, technical striker, and daredevil. And I believe that's pretty much all of the styles apart from like hardcore and deathmatch. And for Dark Arts, it says that they teach every style of wrestling, so they're a bit more broad compared to the Black and Brave Academy. But what I want to do is actually, we're going to link up with both of them. What this means though is that we would have to pay 25% of their running costs, but in exchange we would get first refusal over any worker that graduates from the school. So the Dark Arts Gym will cost us $2,250 per month, as opposed to the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, which would cost us $3,062 per month. So I think we're going to try and link up with both of them. So let's suggest affiliation, and Black and Brave Wrestling Academy are currently not interested in affiliating with Strong Style. Okay, so maybe we'll try them again once we hit the next size, but let's give the Dark Arts Gym a try and see if we can link up with them. And they actually accept. Okay, your suggestion has been accepted. Would you like to officially begin the affiliation? And yes. So there we have it then. We don't have to spend loads of money on creating our own facility, and we still get first refusal. I'm not sure whether we'll get the Trueborn loyalty that we saw earlier, but we'll see. So we've basically saved ourselves a few $100,000 to set it up, and also would have to pay the full running costs as well if we were to make our own. So yeah, I think affiliating with one for now at least is the best option. And maybe we even try linking up with the Rhodes Wrestling Academy as well, since it is in the Mid-South and it's more of a homegrown situation going on. So let's see if they'll speak to us anyway. And they're not currently interested, so that's fine. But at least we've got one, and we'll keep an eye on the Rhodes Wrestling Academy and the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy as well going forward. And interestingly as well, the Dark Arts Gym doesn't only teach pro wrestling, but it teaches Muay Thai as well. And so far through the save, there's actually been 3 people that have graduated from the Dark Arts Gym. And so what I want to quickly do is check their match history and see what kind of ratings they bring in. So Patricia Whitehead's the first one, and she's currently only getting 12s. We've got Denise Cronin, who is currently getting in independent matches 5, so she's even worse. And Betty Hupp is another name that came through, and she gets 14. So yeah, they're not great. And we might even sign Patricia and Betty at some point. But for now, we're just going to leave it and see if any graduates come through in the near future. And after a lot of thinking of how we're actually going to present our product going forward in terms of schedule, I finally decided on what we're going to do. So the initial idea was, of course, just to have a weekly TV show, as you would typically see in the United States, which then leads to a monthly pay-per-view. And you use that television to build towards those events. However, I've been taking a look at the sort of Japanese style of building towards shows. And with us being strong style, I think it makes sense that we adopt a similar approach. So what you can see here on the screen now is our schedule for January. So what we're going to do every month is start off with a strong style propaganda, either in the Southwest or Southeast, before we go to 3 Road 2 shows or tour shows, night 1, night 2 and night 3, leading into the main show of that month. And for January, that will be, for the first time ever, the Strong Style Roulette event. Now we'll get into the details of that in just a second, but let's break down how our monthly schedule will work then. So as I say, start with propaganda, and then the 3 Road 2 shows will be lesser shows, as you can see up here, meaning they will be broadcast, but they're not as important as the main show at the end of the month. And the way I've made it is that the second Tuesday of the month will see propaganda hosted, and then on the following Tuesday and Wednesday will be night 1 and night 2 of the Road 2 shows. Then the final Road 2 show will happen on the Tuesday after that, leading into the final show that will happen on the typical Wednesday, and that will be the 4th Wednesday of the month. So what this allows us to do is to grow in popularity quicker, so that we can get to a bigger size with the talent that we've got right now. Because I don't want to go 1 or 2 shows per month, and by the time that we're at a good level, all of the OGs have retired and we don't get to use them on that international size. So I want to grow as fast as possible in terms of in-game, and I think this will be a good approach. Now there is something that I'm wary of though, is the fact that if you remember, I don't know how many episodes ago now or how many years ago in game, but there was a point where we were running too many big events in the same month and it saw a big decline in our attendance. Now I think we should be able to avoid that with this strategy, because propaganda will be in another region, so we won't have to worry about that. And the Road 2 shows are lesser events, and that means that we've only got 1 big show in the Mid-South per month. So that should prevent any sort of problems with attendance. However, if we do see a decline in attendance, what we'll do is drop these lesser shows down to touring, which means that they won't be able to be broadcast, but we can air tour highlights, which would basically just be highlight shows of the tour. And the tour will be for January, the Strong Style Roulette Tour, which will start on night 1, as you can see here, by tour start, and tour end will happen at Strong Style Roulette. So the Strong Style Roulette kickoff show has now been renamed to just Strong Style Roulette, and that will happen in January. And we've also done the same with the Strong Style Showdown, which will be in July now. So what this will allow us to do is to have 12 events across the year that will happen on the same month. So what we were doing before is just having Strong Style 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the 10th event would be our season finale. And that season finale would happen every 10 months, which became an issue as we saw at Strong Style 50, as we were running season finales too close to each other. So now every 10th numbered event will be every 12 months. So hopefully that makes sense. And what I want to do now is maybe get some suggestions from the comments. So this is the current tour schedule that we have penciled in, and you can see some of the names of the tours. So for January, as I say, it will be the Strong Style Roulette Tour, and we'll see the Road to Strong Style Roulette. And as you can see, the Road to shows will host the round of 16, which is an expanded tournament now, as well as the quarterfinals, and then the final show will host the semi-finals and the final. And this also means that we can have the tournament happen within 1 month instead of over the course of several months, and I think that feels better for a tournament anyway. And then for the numbered event months, we're going to have sort of themed tours. So we'll have in February the Fatal Romance Tour, which will lead into Strong Style 54, and then the following year will be 64, etc, etc. And then we're going to have in March the Strong Style Americas versus the World Tour, which I want to kind of bring in some talent from other promotions that we haven't used before, maybe through either alliance loans or through talent trading, or maybe just outright sign them up for a touring contract. And we'll get to touring contracts in just a second. And in April, we currently have scheduled in the Wonder Kid Cup, which will be an exclusively under 25 tournament. I think we're going to do both a women's and men's for that. And I haven't got a name for March, so if you've got any suggestions, let me know. And also, if you've got any suggestions that are better than the current names that we've got, do let me know as well. And I'll take a look at all the comments as always. In June, we'll then go into the Women's World Cup, which will then be crowned at Strong Style 58. And then we go the following month into the Strong Style Showdown Tour, which will see 3 Road to Strong Style Showdown events, which will host the qualifiers and the eliminator rounds before the final takes place at the Strong Style Showdown event. In August, we've got the Summer Series, then we've got the Road to Strong Style 60, and the Every 10th event will happen in September. And then in October, we've got the Halloween Horror Show, Night 1, Night 2, and Night 3 again. All of the lesser shows are 3 nights, as I said before. And then I haven't got a name for November, so let me know. And temporarily in December, we've got the Nightmare Before Christmas tour, but I might hold off on that so I don't get sued by Disney. But let me know again if you've got a good name for a Christmas themed or holiday themed event tour. So that's kind of what we're doing, and it's just something a little bit different, especially in the American market, to kind of have the Japanese style touring schedule. And with having a tour set up, this also means that we can go to Talent Search and offer touring contracts, I believe. So we'll just use Epidemius Jr. as an example, and this filter is potential options for the Wonder Kid Cup. And say we were to sign Epidemius Jr., we could just offer him, there should be an option for touring contract. Here it is, until the tour ends. So we would be able to sign him now, and his contract will end the day after the Strong Style Roulette events. And this will be activated because this event is set to end of tour, as is the Strong Style Showdown, as well as the numbered events. So what we could be able to do is have more of a rotating roster and sign some of the lower card talent to touring contracts every month, and sort of drop people in and out as we wish. So if somebody doesn't impress on that tour, we can just not bring them back once their contract expires. And if they do impress, maybe they can earn themselves an exclusive contract, or we'll just bring them back for the next tour and keep going until we decide that we don't want them around anymore. And also it's a great way of kind of keeping the roster fresh, so we haven't just got undercard guys kind of lingering around for too long and then they haven't got any plans and then they're just constantly losing. And I think it's going to be a really good way to move forward. And with that said, we would of course have our main guys that are locked down to exclusive contracts that will be at the top of the bill, and then the undercard will be more of a conveyor belt of talent coming in and out as we test different things, and depending on the theme of the event as well. So for example, we could potentially make the May tour a Lucha Libre themed tour, and we could even tour Mexico, and that would mean we could offer some maybe up and coming luchadors a touring contract, so they'd only be around for that tour, and then we consider their future after that. Or maybe for the Halloween Horror Show, we bring in some more darker themed characters like Danhausen or Black Taurus and sort of things like that, and we can rotate the roster that way. And of course the lesser shows will have lower attendance, but I don't think it's going to drop too much, and we'll of course make a ton of money at the end of the month with the main show. And speaking of touring contracts, the next Strong Style Roulette will be the women's edition, as was the first ever tournament. And so far we've had 1 for the junior heavyweights, 2 for the heavyweights, and 1 for the women's. And as I say, this time I think it's the women's turn to have a go on the roulette. However, we need 16 wrestlers in for the tournament, and we currently only have 12 women on the roster, and there also may be some scheduling issues with some of these, so they might not be able to take part. So I'm going to have to go through and sort of work out who's going to be competing on what night, and I'll do this after this episode has been completed. However, what I want to do is add a couple of people to the roster on touring contracts for the upcoming shows, and they are two people that I've actually mentioned already in this episode. So the first person I want to bring in is Xena, of course, who we saw earlier, who is probably going to be a next big thing on our creative meeting if that news story is correct about her potential. So first we're going to talk to her and try and get her to work in the United States, which is okay to do. And now let's offer her a touring contract. So it's going to be a handshake deal, and it's going to be per show, of course, and we're going to try and bring that down to 180 instead of 220, and we'll put until the tour ends, and then we'll consider our options once she's performed. And we'll keep everything else as it is with travel covered from Japan, so it's going to be an extra $200 on top of her wage. And touring contracts must have a defined length of 9 months or less. Okay, so we'll go with 9 months, but it will end after the strong style roulette nonetheless. And she wants that 220, so we'll go with that, I guess, and let's make the offer, and she will be coming in. And another person that I want to sign is Erica Lee, who currently works for TNA Wrestling, and you might know her as the valet of the Outrunners, and she's actually currently the TNA Knockouts champion in the Save, and she's also with AEW as well on a handshake deal. So she's quite a big name at this point. I mean, she's got 50s in popularity at least, and she's actually quite good fundamentally, and she's a decent technical and brawler as well. But let's make her an offer, and I think I want to bring her in for the roulette, and it'll be interesting to have somebody that's the Knockouts champion on the shows. So let's do that then, and until the tour ends, and we'll do 9 months once again. But it will, of course, end before the 9 months, and let's make that offer. And I'll just meet what she was asking for in the first place. And I also want to bring in 2 more talents for the upcoming tour. Firstly, Epidemius Jr., who we have seen before, and he was actually one of the OGs of the Americas series. And you can see here he was signed in October 2024, right at the start of the Save, before he relocated to Mexico, and at this point we let him go. And he is still with AAA, and he's now 23 years old, and he's actually going to be an option for the upcoming Wonder Kid Cup as well, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to bring him in for that. But I want to give him a go on this tour as well, just to test him out and to give him some reps in the United States and potentially build up his popularity, so not everybody in the Wonder Kid Cup is an unknown, because we'll probably get a penalty for that. So let's get him in just for this tour, and we'll give him a match on one of the upcoming tour shows. So let's do until the tour ends, 9 months once again, and we'll try and bring his wage down to 100, but I don't think it's going to make too much difference. And yeah, he just won the 120, so we'll go with that and make that offer. And one more thing I want to do is, speaking of the Outrunners and Erica Lee, I want to bring in Turbo Floyd. Now, he is the youngest of the 2 youngest men alive, and I do want to bring him in as a solo act. And I've mentioned this before, and he was an option for Propaganda, but I want to bring him in for a match for the upcoming tour once again, and he'll probably wrestle in a multi-man match, and I just want to see how he gets on rating-wise. Yeah, I'm just a fan of the Outrunners, and we don't have a tag division right now, so I have to pick one of the 2, and for now we're going to go with Turbo. So let's sign him up, and we'll get this offer made, and we'll try and get it down to 200, but he's probably going to come back and say that he wants the 230 that we had before. So, but we're going to do until tour ends once again, and we'll go with that. And apparently he wants 230. Yep. So let's make that offer and go forward. And we'll complete these signings in the next episode, because I do want to end this episode on January 1st, because I want to release this as a save on the Patreon, as a save point, as it feels like a good time to kick off. And also off screen, I also filled out the entire tour schedule, as you can see here, and there's a lot to go through, but basically every tour has now been set up for each corresponding month. We do have the November tour currently unnamed, it's just currently November tour, and it's the same for May as well, so make sure you give me some suggestions for that in the comments down below. But yeah, everything is in place. So for January, we're going to end with Strong Style Roulette, then February will be the Strong Style 54 show, I believe, and then this monthly show will continue to roll over into the end of each month as the end of tour event. And if you are actually going to download the save, just be sure to delay the show once you hit January and July. And the easiest way I've found to do this is just to click this Move Schedule Forward button, and that'll just knock it to the next month, because that's when the Strong Style Showdown and Roulette will take place. And of course, once you get to September for the Strong Style 60 event, go in and push it to November, and also change the number to 61. and do the same every time once it hits every 10th event. So you'll be able to grab this save on the Patreon right now as this video drops on the Legends tier. So make sure you head over to patreon.com/curbstompcity if you want to get your hands on this very save and play along yourself from what I think is maybe the most pivotal point of the company going forward in terms of potential to grow the company every month and really push on with Strong Style Americas. And before we do end the episode though, as we are right now, I want to quickly check how King Rex and Brooke Havoc are getting on in NXT. So if we go to King Rex, we'll start with him, and as you can see, he's currently in NXT on a developmental contract for WWE. And let's check his match history then. So he did make his debut quite fittingly on the Halloween Havoc show in 2028, and he teamed with Ronald Mezga, who I think is a regen, to take on Victor Chase and Julio Cruz. And actually it was a decent match with a rating of 74, but he was the worst person in the match with a 43 rating. And since then he's been appearing on NXT and NXT Level Up. He was also on the NXT Deadline show on the pre-show. And for the most part he's lost, but he has managed to win 2 matches, one of those being a tag match there, teaming with the KC Jacobs, interestingly, who has apparently now signed with NXT. And we actually recently let him go. But that's pretty cool to see that he's getting the shot in NXT now and teaming up with one of our former wrestlers. And King Rex's other win came in a dark match for NXT Level Up, and he would team up with Ronald once again. And for Brooke Havoc then, let's see if she's had a bit more success on the main show, and she actually is still in several companies on loan from us as well. But let's take a look then at her NXT career. And she would make her debut once again at NXT Halloween Havoc in a dark match against Kathy Luta, and then she went on to wrestle Stephanie Vaquer on NXT Level Up as well, so that's a pretty big match for her. And she's currently got a better record than King Rex with 6 wins and 5 losses, but it looks like the majority of those wins were in a dark match, but it's still nonetheless a win in a WWE ring. And the only win that she's had on screen, from what I can tell, is a tag match where she teamed with Jada Parker to defeat the Squadron. But yeah, it's actually been a pretty good start for Brooke Havoc in NXT as things stand, and long may that continue so she can grow her popularity and return to us as an even bigger star, hopefully at some point in the future. And the same for King Rex, of course, as well. And another person who I get asked about all the time in the comments, and we may as well get it out the way here, is Rey Mysterio 4, and a bit of a legend of the save despite being absolutely awful for us. And since he left us in July 2026, or at least that's when he wrestled his last match for us, he's only worked 4 matches, and he did manage to get a win over Mascara Dorada Jr., who is another regen, I believe, and that was on an independent show in Austin, interestingly. And since then he hasn't done very much, which means his skills haven't increased either, for the most part, because he hasn't had the in-ring reps to do so. And as of his last match, his match rating was 15, so yeah, he hasn't got much better, in fairness. And now he's not even eligible for the Wonder Kid Cup, so he can't even compete in that either. And I want to touch on one more thing before we finish off, and that is actually the state of the wrestling industry right now in the game. Now, if you remember, we were struggling at one point and we had quite a low economy and low wrestling industry, and you might have noticed as we've been going through the save on the venue screen that this has slowly been going up, and we've now got a very strong economy and a very strong wrestling industry, and apparently it's still rising as well. And this is definitely something that's helped us financially, as it's no doubt helped our attendances as well as the sale of merchandise and potentially subscriptions as well, and even sponsorships would be helped too. So that's good to see, especially heading into our new touring schedule, which will be kicking off in the next episode with the Strong Style Roulette Tour, as we bring you 5 shows in one episode. And I think that's going to be the theme going forward. And I think the touring schedule as well is going to be slightly easier to book, at least the tour shows themselves, as it's not as serious and it's simply just to build to that main show instead of having several main shows in one episode. But if you're excited for the Strong Style Roulette, make sure you drop a like down below and help us get to 400 likes. Make sure you subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss the next episode, and make sure you head over to the Patreon where you can gain access to this save right now as it stands. But until next time, peace.